Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. I'm Antonio Rossetti, and this is Justin Stewart, and today we have a special guest on our podcast. We have Nick Powell from Point Park.
How we doing?
We're doing swell.
Yeah, so Nick plays for Point Park basketball, and he's also an intern for the Pittsburgh Pirates. How's your day going, and how's your weekend been so far?
It's been a pretty good day. Got a little gym in early. Had to get dressed for work. Happy to be here with you guys. That was cool.
So I am curious. I have one question to ask you. So, after this, you going straight to the ballpark?
Yeah, actually, I'm probably going to be here for about an hour. And then, get to the park around 2.
Okay.
Game starts at 4:05. Hopefully we don't get delayed, man.
I'm about to say, yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. No, I hope they get the game in there. They should. I think it's supposed to lighten up as the day goes, though. But I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Just curious.
How about yesterday, though? They hit around Zach Allen. I mean, he came into the game as one of the best pitchers in the league, bolstering a 2.37 ERA, and then all of a sudden the Pirates actually hit the ball again, and it was good to see. And today they have Mitch Keller going. They can actually get the series win today. So yeah, it's looking good for Pittsburgh this week, unlike the last 2 weeks. So yeah.
Oh, it's been crazy.
Yeah, but Brian Reynolds, right-handed home run too as well.
He drove in runs. He got a hit and drove in. Dude, I said on the last podcast he hasn't driven in a run since the National Series. We're going that's 2 weeks ago. So, hopefully that's the start of more runs being driven in, because when he's going, bro, I mean, good things happen. So I hope that's the start of something good offense again. That was brutal to watch the past couple of weeks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but you mentioned the gym. What you hit at the gym today?
Got some chest in. I was just trying to take it easy. I try to, get in there as much as I can, and then kind of do different things every day, and then because I don't like to skip days, I like to just stay active. So hit some chest, nothing too heavy. I don't really like to go too heavy. Run, sauna. I'm big on the sauna now, stretching, stuff like that. Keeping everything together. So,
Sick, man. Hey, I was at it too. I got arms in today, so
okay.
we both got our gym work in today.
Try to get something in though. Had to get something in.
Especially with it being as rainy as it is outside. For those out there who haven't been in Pittsburgh, it's pretty inconsistent here. So I mean, you got to get used to the indoor activities. And but how was work yesterday, Justin?
Terrible.
Terrible.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that, and we'll go right into our quick hitters then, because since you were quick, we'll be quick with it too.
Okay.
My quick hitter, it is, I saw something on Instagram. So 2 people in the conference finals in the NHL and the NBA conference finals, they both went to the same high school, and I saw a video. Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics and Matthew Tkachuk from the Florida Panthers went to the same high school. And I just thought that was pretty cool, because I saw a pretty cringe but funny video of those two as freshmen in high school. And I just thought it was pretty cool that, you have the guy who got the game winner in a 4 overtime victory, Matthew Tkachuk, and Jason Tatum, who's been, top 5, top 10 player in the league for the past couple of years. They were at the same high school at the same time. I thought that was pretty cool. And I didn't know that until I saw that video. So that's my quick hitter this week.
Yeah, mine. I just thought mine on top of the head though, but I'm gonna do both Florida teams in the conference finals, NBA and NHL. The Florida Panthers had an epic 4 overtime game win over the Hurricanes the other night. I mean, we were 12 seconds away from going to 5 overtimes. I think the game lasted 5 hours, 5.5 hours. It was ridiculous. Florida, like I said, they slayed the Giants in the first round. The Boston Bruins had the best record, one of the best teams of all time in the regular season at least. And then you have the Heat too. Took down the 1-seeded Bucks, who were heavily favored to win the chip this year. Then you take down the Knicks, who were tough. They were a very good team this year as well. And now you're up 2-0 on Boston, who I thought, for the most part, was the best team in the East all year. So, I think both of those teams, they're in the driver's seat to go to their championship games, whether it's the Stanley Cup Final or the NBA Finals for either team. So, shout out to Jimmy Butler, too. Dude's been the best player in the playoffs. Outside maybe of Nikola Jokic, all playoffs has been consistently great, and no Tyler Hero too. I think it makes it more impressive.
Well, I think the easier one for me to do is just Spurs getting Wembanyama.
Okay, yeah,
with that first pick, right, for me. So, how about a change for that franchise? Popovich is kind of crazy how he started his dynasty with Duncan. I was thinking about that when they got the pick, and now I don't know when he's going to finish off. He might stay a couple more years now, right? That he's got Wembanyama, see what he can do with him. But the fact that if this is towards the end of his career, the fact that he can start with Duncan and then end with Wembanyama is pretty special. If this kid can be special for real, I think it's going to be a pretty crazy story.
I mean, we can actually talk about that though if we wanted to. But like I was gonna say, it's funny they've had 3 number 1 overall picks, and like David Robinson, Hall of Famer, Tim Duncan, obviously Hall of Famer. Wembanyama, they're like talking about him like he'll be a Hall of Famer, and like I don't know, we'll see. I think he's gonna be a very good player. The size is ridiculous. He can shoot. He can handle the ball really well. But I just hate, like, every year there's always that one guy. It's like, oh, he's the next great thing. And it's like, I was just going through, like, just past mock drafts, and, like, they had Kwame Brown compared to Kevin Garnett. So, like, what I'm saying is I don't think he'll be a bust, but I just think sometimes, like, people get caught up. Like, you see it, too. It's like he's the best prospect ever. And I'm just like, that's really strong praise because we've had some, like, really great prospects over the past, like, 30 years, and a lot of them are Hall of Famers. But I just think, like, the whole hype thing, like, I hope he does very well. But there's a lot of pressure on him and expectation to deliver in San Antonio. And, like, I think, in all honesty, if he were to be in any place, that's honestly the best place for him because they have a great track record of developing players, draft players late in the second round, turn them into all-star players, very good role players. We saw with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili as well. So I think, compared to other franchises that might not handle their young players as well, I think the Spurs is a perfect fit. Excuse me.
Speaking of the Spurs, talk about a team that never truly rebuilds. I just feel like they always just get that generational talent. Like David Robinson, he's getting a little bit past his prime, but hey, here we go. Here comes Tim Duncan now, and then Manu Ginobili, and then Tony Parker. I mean, and then like
Kawhi.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard, another one. He was a mid-round pick out of San Diego State, and
so they got him.
I could go all the way. I could go, for George Hill, yeah, and you could go all the way as far as even saying someone like Patty Mills too, who without him, like, they don't beat Miami the way they did in 2014. Patty Mills was a small guy from Australia. He went to St. Mary's, comes into San Antonio, ends up being a great role player. The team develops talent, and Wembanyama, I completely understand. Like, it's tough to handle the pressure. Kwame Brown was another one. He's, like you said, compared to Kevin Garnett, he wasn't Kevin Garnett. But I think Wembanyama he's going to the right place, like you said. And at the same time, like, if you just watch him play, just from the eye test, that at the very least he's going to be a really good player. And I'm excited to see how he does in San Antonio. So
I would just add, like, because I'll let you guys talk, but I hate when guys get compared. Like, let Victor Wembanyama be the best version of himself. Like, don't compare him with Tim Duncan or David Robinson. That's a terrible thing. And I think one more thing too is, like, people saying, well, if his career ends up like Kevin Durant's, a failure. That's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard because Kevin Durant's a Hall of Famer, a 2-time champion. So, like, if his career is, like, turns out to be Kevin Durant, I'd say it's pretty successful. I just want
someone said that.
Yes, someone actually said that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like just some random dude on Twitter. It was like an actual, like, analyst. I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't like any of this stuff with him, with the overhype with him. Like, so for example, if he rookie season averages like 19 and 12.
Oh, dude, that's.
But they're gonna say he's like yeah.
No,
and I don't like that because even if he has a career where it ends up like where he steady puts up 20 and 12 for his career, 2 blocks a game.
Yeah,
great numbers for his career.
Mm-hmm.
Great numbers for career. I feel like they still gonna say, but he was the top, this dude, whatever. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like how they do that with a lot of young guys now. Like how they speak on these young dudes now. Like a lot of people don't like a guy like RJ Barrett, for example, or a Jalen Green. And I'm like, these dudes are, RJ Barrett, for example, is 22, 23 years old, and he's averaging 20 in the NBA. Like Jalen Green is 21 years old, and he's putting up 19, 22 points, whatever, in the NBA. Like, let these dudes grow. Like, let these dudes, I know, in the NBA you want it now, you want it quick, but you gotta let these dudes, like, get some growth under their belt, Like, these are young dudes, like really young dudes. You gotta think back in the day, like Jordan didn't come in until 21. Dudes weren't coming in at 19 and 20. Like, these dudes are young right now, So I think you just gotta let dudes develop. If Wembanyama isn't the best player from this draft the first year, like, I'm not gonna be concerned at all. And I'm not going to be like, oh, well, look at the bust. I'm not going to do that.
Look at Giannis' first year. Look at Rudy Gobert's first year. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't even average 7 points in his first year in the league. He was actually just like, he was taken 15th, I believe. I mean, he was kind of an experiment, and then he grew into that player. So, like, I agree. I'm in 100% agreement. It's like all these comparisons, and it's just like they crash down if you're not great immediately. And another example, too, is Andrew Wiggins. He was compared to LeBron out of college. And, LeBron's shoes, that's pretty tough to fill. But Andrew Wiggins was still an all-star player. He averaged 25.5 the one season for the Timberwolves. Without him, the Warriors don't win the championship, in my opinion. So, I mean, Andrew Wiggins still carved out an all-star type career. So, he's no LeBron, but that's what I'm saying is, like, he's Andrew Wiggins, not LeBron. Yes, he's not as good as LeBron, but the comparisons and, like, people saying, oh, he's a bust just because he didn't live up to being, a top 5 player in the NBA. Like, he still was a good draft pick. And I know Embiid was a couple picks after him, but, I mean, Wiggins is still an NBA champion, so.
Well, I mean, Giannis is a perfect example of why you don't give up on a player. He didn't really take off to like his 5th year. I mean, you think about it, he was like you said, the first year he averaged 7 points a game. Like he it was a gradual increase, and he got bigger too. That wasn't something that happened overnight. I think people forget about that, but he really didn't become an elite player until year 5 or 6, and obviously now he's a top 3 player. You can argue best player in the NBA right now. So it's just one of those things. The Bucks stayed the course, and a lot of these teams, it's not even just basketball; it's football. Football, I think, is worse from the standpoint you draft a quarterback, you draft this guy, and he has a bad year, and because of a bad offensive line or a bad coach or this or that, they want to get off him real quick, and you're seeing that with Kyler Murray right now. If the Cardinals tank this year, they're trying to get rid of him for Caleb Williams. I hate that. Yeah. It's guys just don't get that fair shake, and we saw with Geno Smith. I know I'm going off the rails here, but guy's been in the league for 10 years, was highly thought of coming out of West Virginia. His career didn't take off as well as he'd like it, especially in New York. But I mean, he stuck around for 10 years, and he saw he had a career year last year. He was a Pro Bowl caliber player. So I just think overall with young guys, especially like you said, teenagers coming into the league, you got to give them 4 or 5 years. I know fans and guys in the front office aren't that patient, but Giannis is the perfect example. If you stay the course, you might win a championship, and you might eventually become that team to beat. So I don't know. That's just food for thought, at least from my perspective.
I was going to ask you a question, but It's more like a different topic. It's kind of going into playoff stuff.
Okay.
So how do y'all feel about these the playing?
The playing
and
tournament?
how the play? Because at first, I'm gonna keep it real, I was not a fan of the playing, because I was like, there's no way you should be rewarding a 10 seed, stuff like that, right? They're a 10 seed, they're a 9 seed. Why are we rewarding them and giving them a shot in the playoffs? But now, after people talking to me and explaining it to me, I'm like, it does make it more competitive during the end, right? And it takes out those teams that might want to tank, right? So I'm and now you look at Miami, who was a playing team for real, and they're competitive and they're taking it. So how do y'all feel about how the playing is affected?
You can answer that first.
The playoffs and stuff.
Yeah, so personally, I think even though they were playing, they would have made the actual playoff format. So I think the cream at the end of the day still rises to the top. But at the same time, my opinion on it is I think it's a fun little way to end the season and stuff. It gives the teams more chances. There's not as much tanking. On the other hand, though, I think that taking 10 teams out of 15 on each side, that means that 67% of the teams have a chance. If you look at all the other sports, I mean, NFL, you take 7 from each conference. MLB, you only take 6. Even in the NHL, I mean, not half the teams get in. When you look at the NBA, you're literally talking about 10 teams on each side. So I think it kind of I don't want to say devalues the playoffs, but it kind of does too at the same time, because I feel like they almost take too many teams in, and that's my thought on it. I feel like they're taking too many teams. Honestly, sometimes we've seen 10 seeds. I think the Pelicans, this year, or the Pacers a couple years ago, there's some teams that are 5 to 10 games under 500. And if you ask me, does a team belong in the playoffs that is 5 to 10 games under 500? I don't think so personally, but that's just my thought on it.
Yeah, I would say I have mixed feelings about the play. And I think on one hand, the Miami is the rare outlier, because if people forget, they were in the conference finals last year. They were a game away from the finals, so they pretty much returned.
Shot away,
yeah,
literally. Yeah.
I mean, they pretty much returned like their entire team from last year, they just got off to a terrible start, and they played really well towards the end of the year. And, unfortunately, they weren't able to get out of the play-in, though. But I think, it's one of those things where, when you see a team like the Bulls make it, and you have, like, the Timberwolves and Pelicans, like, they're, like, playoff quality teams. I don't doubt that, but I just don't, I don't know. Like, I understand the whole method behind, like, we want to encourage more competitive play and less tanking, but like there's some teams like I've looked like the Hornets and like Pacers that they've been playing teams in the past, like, and I understand you got to win the games, and like you never know in a 7-game series anything's possible, but I don't know, I'm just not really a fan of those kind of teams. Like I just think, like you said, you have 20 teams like that have a shot at the playoffs out of 32. I feel like you need to earn it a little bit more than just like, I just think, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I see both sides to it though, but I don't know. I think I prefer the old like 1-8 method better though. But I mean, I understand the play-in, the Heat. If they need the play-in to make it to the playoffs though. So at the same time, they're on a great run though. So like, I don't know. You never know what kind of run a team could go on if you're playing great basketball. And we're seeing it with the Heat though, but I just don't think you can't expect that every year to have a team that's a 9 or 10 seed, win 2 games and like beat the Bucks or a team like the Bucks in the first round. That's just so unrealistic though. But credit to the Heat this year. They're like bucking all those trends. No pun intended.
Yeah, it was intended, but it's all right. I liked it. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about it?
Like I said, I was against it at first because I was like, I don't really like 10 seeds getting in. But I'll say this though, it's a star-driven league. And now a lot of teams have stars, right? Mm-hmm. Like I feel like, I don't know back in the day for like 90s, 2000s ish where the stars were at, but now like almost every team has like a star, like, right? Like OKC has Shea, and he was first team All NBA, right? So like if you're the league, right, you like the more I can market this dude and the more I can get him out here, like yeah, of course I want him to be, have another game, a couple more games, right? So from that aspect, I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with it because if I'm a fan of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I get to see him play more, right? More than I would. Now he's playing in meaningful games. And in the NBA, I feel like the playoffs, it's getting to that culture in the league now where it's like the playoffs is everything, right? And that's it. Like the regular season is kind of not meaningless, but it's like
especially with like load management and stuff like that. And
yeah, it's like the playoffs. It's like Jimmy Butler, for example. Before the playoffs, how many players would you say you would take over Jimmy Butler? A lot.
Yeah, I'd say 15.
Easily, like just off the top of your head, right? Because you like, I can just throw out the name Paul George. You would take Paul George
I would, yeah.
Way over Jimmy Butler, right? But now you're like, well, Paul George, I know he's not going to get me there. And Jimmy Butler is like low-key getting him there.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you think about it, he's been there 3 years. They've been in the finals, conference finals. So, like, I can't really argue that. We can't. I just think, Jimmy Butler, he's one of those guys we're going to look back on whenever he retires and be like, dang, man, we really disrespected him. We didn't show him enough love. Because I think, like, honestly, I think right now you have to consider him a top 10 player. I mean, just forget the playoffs. I think, obviously what he provides defensively. And we know he's capable of scoring 25 a night. Now, the numbers don't always show that on the stat sheets, but no, he's a dog, man. And just like, once again, he's another guy. It took him like 3 or 4 years to get acclimated to the NBA.
Right.
NBA, Tom Thibodeau took a chance on him. And, we saw that when he had that breakout year, it was kind of coincide when D Rose, had his injuries and stuff. That was unfortunate, though. But, the one good thing that came out of that, though, was Jimmy Butler, diamond in the rough. Now he's an all-star player. If he can win a championship this year, dude, you can lock it in. Hall of Famer too. So,
was he an all-star this year? I don't even think.
I don't think he was.
Team.
No, I don't think he was.
That's insane.
He had all-star numbers though, but I don't think he made the team. No.
I think didn't Bam make it though?
I think Bam made it. Yeah.
He's been great too. I mean, he had like 22 and 17 the other night. I mean, I know like. I will say this. I've said on past podcasts, I've given Jimmy Butler some love. I'm like, playoff Jimmy Butler, he's something completely different. And regular season Jimmy Butler, too. I mean, he's always been good, too. But, yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler has been stepping up to the plate. I mean, he dropped a couple 40-point games against the Bucks earlier this year, like in the first round of the playoffs. And, yeah, I mean, ever since, like, yeah, he just been clutch. That's all I got to say. Like, there's really not much I could say. been amazing.
I remember I made a comment here about Jimmy Butler that I think I kind of regret now. I said you can't win with him as your number one. You can. It's.
I said the same thing.
I remember I was like, I just said I feel like with the Heat, like I still believe that they're I think that they could use one more like really good player, like just as far as being a championship team year in and year out though. But like as far as this year, the past 3 years. Like Jimmy Butler, I know he kind of just like flies, like you said, under the radar during the regular season. You know, he'll have the occasion like, oh my gosh, he put up that stat line. And then, but like once the playoffs come, bro, it's like he's a different animal. And we saw the bubble really exposed us to that. You saw the numbers he's putting up, triple doubles in the NBA Finals. You know, the Heat, they were just ridiculous in that bubble run too. And then, you know, last year their team wasn't as good, but still they found a way to get to the conference finals. You know, this year, too, this team probably was one of their worst teams the past 4 or 5 years. Still, once again, they found a way to pull through. And, you know, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. I mean, they have a lot of dogs on that roster. They don't have, like, you know, the well-known names like as previous years Heat teams had. I know Kyle Lowry, you know, he's kind of like, you know, kind of on the downside of his career, too. You know, I didn't even mention Victor Oladipo got hurt in the first round. So that was another rotational piece that they lost. And the fact that they're still going, I think that just speaks volumes. And shout out to Eric Spoelstra. I think he's probably the best coach in the NBA right now.
Sure.
And I do want to add, too, is when you look at their roster, though, and you compare it to the Suns have that star power. But when CP3 got hurt, I mean, when you look at the depth, Miami just has more depth than a lot of these teams, too. Like, yes, Jimmy Butler has been all that. Yes, Bam Adebayo has been all that. But we just saw, like, Caleb Martin drop 25 points yesterday.
That's true, yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, he was one of those players that, you know, went to NC State, transferred to Nevada. I mean, wasn't, like, highly touted. He just wants to go out there and win. So you got him playing good. Max Strus is playing good. And like you said, no Hero, no Oladipo. Like, this team is still, you know, persevering. Even Gabe Vincent, too. Like, when he's on, he cooks. I mean, and it's just like, yeah, the team is just on a roll right now. And to be able to take 2 in Boston, now coming back home, even if you split your home series, you're going to be up 3-1. And so, like, yeah, taking the first two on the road, that's so important in any series, no matter what the sport is.
I just want to see how y'all, like, so we saw how it can positively affect Jimmy Butler when you play at that high level, like when you're a riser. But, like, how about those dudes, and it hurts me to say this, like how my guys Harden and Embiid, for example, who right now you kind of got to label them droppers, right? Because they put the crazy numbers up in the regular season. Like Harden had a 36-point year, 2019. Embiid just had 33 a game this year. But when they get in the playoffs, they get played a certain way, right? The defense shifts and they drop. The numbers drop, right? So Embiid this playoffs could be averaging 26 and 10. Harden, whatever, we know how he gets in the playoffs. But he's a dropper. Either way, you're a dropper. You don't average as many. So, you know, how, like does that make you look at these dudes differently, kind of? Because now, like Butler, for example, is looked at like he's the man, like he's a top 10 player now, and we weren't even talking about him like that. And now, so does that make you look at those guys negatively, in a negative light now, like those Embiids, those Hardens, those CP3s, kind of, you know?
Yeah, I always look at it as like, yeah, you might not be able. There's so many players that haven't been able to get it done in the playoffs. And they're like, think about it. Karl Malone, I mean, he's the 3rd leading scorer of all time. He's never won a championship. Like John Stockton, same guy on the same team. Like Patrick Ewing's another one. Like Charles Barkley. But you know, I will say Charles Barkley. I mean, he just didn't have enough help. But yeah, in my opinion, like I don't think it like devalues them. It hurts not to have a championship, especially, you know, someone like James Harden, who we saw one season have 3 straight 50-point games. Like, how many people do that? And, you know, when it came to the playoffs, like, he just went cold. And he, you know, pretty much always goes cold, which sucks because I'm a James Harden fan. So, but yeah, I just I don't think it really devalues. I think with Joel Embiid, like, I think maybe his injury kind of didn't help at all, but to combine for 24 points between the two of them, that definitely wasn't a good look at all. I mean, I think, like, it needs to be a little bit better than that, but I don't think it hurts too much. I still think that, like, they're still really good players, but yeah, it's it's tough to see. That's all. I still respect their game though, and I still think that they're elite players in the league.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I would say I don't think any less views a player if you have a bad game or series. I think too many times like people in the media like, oh, you're not clutch because you don't have a ring, or like I feel like if you're gonna make those kind of accusations, I think you need to back it up with stats. And I think a lot of times people just say it and like it just sticks to the wall, and then it becomes a narrative, and then people run with it. Like LeBron's not clutch. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to debunk that whole myth. But like just back to your thing, though, I was like really disappointed in James Harden more so than Embiid, because Embiid was battling like an injury. He came back. He played pretty solid for the most part, with the exception of Game 7. But James Harden like had like 2 great games in the Celtics series and was terrible. Like as far as like field goal percentage, shooting in the series, and like I don't understand how you can go from 45 Game 1 or 42 to like shooting 4 of 16 or 4 of 20. Like it's one of those head scratching things. Like it's just like I don't know. Like his case, I would have to like look up the numbers and of him. He's had clutch moments, but like it's just when it mattered most, at least pertaining to this year. Game 7, like it wasn't even that you just lost. If you would have lost by 5 points, it would have been one thing. But the fact you got your like behind like destroyed Game 7, like that's just really not a good look. And I don't think anything less of them as players, but certainly it's like, well, like you have to think to yourself, since they did fire Doc Rivers, like can this core of Sixers players like put it together and just they can't get past the second round. Like whatever the case may be, we've seen it like the past 3 years.
At least the Kawhi Leonard, like that was like almost like a cursed shot for Philadelphia there. I don't even know how that still went in.
I mean, honestly, that was
shooter's touch, I guess.
That was probably their best team because they had Jimmy Butler on that team too, and that was probably they should have kept Jimmy Butler on. Looking back, I mean, letting him walk was not good. I'm sure fans would definitely take him over Ben Simmons right now, like just for obvious reasons. But Jimmy Butler, having him might have changed the outcourse of the past couple of years. Maybe it's the Sixers in the finals and not the Heat, or maybe it's them instead of the Celtics or Bucks. So like it's just one of those things. I know like revisionist history isn't always like the most accurate thing to measure off of, but Jimmy Butler, not having him, I think that really hurt because he really came big. And then they had JJ Redick too. Didn't even mention him.
I will say this though, like, would Jimmy Butler be getting the same? I don't think he would be getting the same touches though.
Yeah, obviously not because Embiid's the guy though. But I mean, having him as a number 2. I mean, I'd rather have him as number 2 now than James Harden because I know Jimmy Butler doesn't. You might have the occasional clunker, but all guys do. I mean, that's just part of the sport. But like James Harden's like too like all over the place, and I think we saw Jimmy Butler, with the exception of 1 or 2 games this playoffs, has been like absolutely lights out. So I think with that he could have helped with the scoring load, and I think you still have Maxey, Tobias Harris; those are still good options as well. But I think. Right now, Jimmy Butler, I think, is better than James Harden right now. Like, forget playoffs. I'd rather have him.
I hate to revisit this because it hurts to talk about, my Sixers and everything. But I totally, for the most part, I definitely agree.
Okay.
I do have to clear up, though. Jimmy, I don't want to say we let Jimmy walk. Jimmy really,
got Josh Richardson out.
It was a thing that was like, they didn't, it was bad friction. Coach, he didn't like the coach, Brett Brown at the time, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And he wanted to be in Miami, of course. You want to be in Miami and stuff like that, be the man and everything. But I'm scared now for my Sixers just because like this squad that you had is a championship squad for real.
Yeah, I thought
like if you handle your business in Game 6 in Philly, think about where you're set up at. Now you have home court against the AFC Miami Heat. If you win that, I believe you beat them in 5 or 6. But obviously, look, Miami's doing stuff that so I can't. But I believe you can beat Miami. Then you see LA or Denver. So you have it right there. Like this is a championship squad. You act like, oh, what's the piece that we're missing? No, you have it right here, right? Like this is your team for me that can do it, that could have done it. So that's what's scary. And it's like you're still in the same position you were. Like losing to Boston, losing to whoever. Mm-hmm. And what's really concerning was how you said, like how it happened. Like your stars got like just didn't show up when I needed you at all. And it's like, if you look at Game 6, I don't know if y'all watched Game 6. The fourth quarter, and Tatum had 3 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah, he was dreadful. I watched it.
Finished with 24. And it's like...
Could have been the game that closed them out.
Could have been the game that closed... And when I needed you, who showed up? Boston Stars and not Philly Stars.
Yeah.
Game 7, Tatum drops 50. They combined for 76, him and Brown. And what do? We combined for like 24. And it's like... The stars are not showing up. The leaders are choking. So when your leaders are choking, like, what does that do for the whole organization for real? You know?
Yeah, I just think at some point, like, your window isn't going to be forever. I think we've looked, the Sixers, they've been like contenders for like, 5 or 6 years now. And it's every year they win their first round. Then I don't know whether Joel Embiid gets hurt or something catastrophic happens in the second round, whether it's bad play or whatever. It's just they can't get over the hump. And usually the teams they lose to the second round always end up in the finals. So it's one of those things. Like, I don't know. Like, Joel Embiid's gonna be 30 here within the next year or so, and we all know, like, he missed the first 2 years of his career to injury. And I'm not saying he's an injury risk though, but what I am saying is, the older you get, it's hard to stay on top for long. And I just think, outside of him, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with James Harden this offseason. I mean, I'd bring him back. I think he's still a very good player. But, I mean, he's not the same player he was in Houston, that's for sure. I don't know. I just don't know what you do. And, like, I'm going to throw this out here real quick, though. I'll let you talk, Tony, though. But, like, I was on Bleacher Report, and they were making, like, these Victor Wembanyama trade ideas. And one of them was, like, sending him to Philadelphia for Joel Embiid. And I just thought that's such a terrible trade for a lot of reasons. But, I mean, you can go if you want.
Yeah, I was just going to add, to his point, like him saying it was a championship team. We were talking about it last night, too, when I saw him at the Bucks game. But it's how many, I didn't say this, though, how many teams, like, in the playoffs right now have a fourth option that could put up points like Tyrese Maxey? Like, this is your fourth best. Like, you got Embiid, Harden. You could even say he's your third best scorer because, you got Tobias Harris, too. But, like, that's a lethal 4 players right there who can all put up points. Like, this was probably one of their best chances to be able to win the championship this year. Like you said, they would have been playing the Heat. And it just... I don't know, like, but seriously, like, how many teams have, like, 4 players that could score like that? Like, the Nuggets don't even have that, honestly. The Lakers, too, like, you have LeBron, you have AD, you have D'Angelo Russell, but your fourth guy isn't matching up with Tyrese Maxey or Tobias Harris. Like, Austin Reeves, he's a bucket. But you guys get my point,
I like Denver, though, how they're built, though. I'm not going to lie. Jokic right now, and like Jokic right now is playing better than Embiid. He's playing better than him. He's showing up right now, especially at the height of their little battle, whatever, big man battle. Okay, he's got this year right now because he's outplaying them. It's like, and I'm like, man, you can't let this dude outplay you like this, right? And then you can't come up small. But Denver, I like Denver's makeup. And they're handling LA. Like, I'm gonna keep it real right now. LeBron hasn't looked like Bron. Bron has not looked like Bron. And it started in the first series against Memphis. He didn't look like Bron. But Bron does not look like Bron.
AD's been the real number one guy, in my opinion, for that team. Like, I think, like, whenever he plays good, the team plays good.
And he's shaky. AD's shaky a little bit,
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things. Anthony Davis, I think he's still been great throughout the playoffs, at least defensively. It's offense. For
sure.
And that's the killer. But I think I've told Tony this. I've told his brother this. Like, if Anthony Davis isn't your best player every night, you're not going to win. I know people love LeBron, and I understand he's one of the greatest players of all time. We can go on and on and on, but like, it's just he needs to be the number 2 guy at this point. And I said this when they got him originally before they won their first championship. After that first year, at some point, Anthony Davis needs to be the number 1 guy because, like, LeBron, he's older. LeBron should be like more of like a point guard in a sense that he should be like what James Harden is right now. Like, he'll get you 20 and 10. Like, he shouldn't have to give you 36 to have a chance to win a game. Like, that's just so unrealistic. And I think part of the problem too is LeBron. He's like, while he's still really athletic at his age for 38 years old, it's clear he's just not the same player. Like, he just doesn't drive to the basket as much, and he's shooting too many 3-pointers.
And that's not criticism.
It's just and that's just not his game. Like, he's a capable 3-point shooter, but like, if you're just camping out there shooting 10 a game, like, I just don't like that at all. And I think I understand it's harder to drive the basket when you're older, and you got guys that are freaks of nature guarding you and stuff. I get it's hard though, but I just think at some point, like, that's where you need to say, hey, Anthony Davis, go in the post, play some big man bully ball, get you 30 and 20. And I think Anthony Davis too. He lives on the 3-point line like nobody else. It's like, dude, you're a freak athlete. I saw you at Kentucky. You were dominating guys every night. Like, you're very capable of doing this to NBA level talent. So I just think that's been the most frustrating part though, watching the Lakers though. You don't know which team you're gonna get. One night they look like the best team in the NBA. Yeah. Another they look like absolute trash. So I don't know. I think this is still going to be a series, but I think right now Denver has the edge, no doubt.
I'm definitely going to say this right now, though. Without Anthony Davis, they get eliminated in the first round because the dude averaged 24 and 16 against the Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson. So, I mean, I just think, like, without him, without his production like he had in the first round, he had a good second round as well. Against the Warriors, like, no one was able to guard him on the Golden State Warriors. I think what they're running into now is they're just playing a better team. I think that's what it really comes down to is, like, I think we could talk about, hey, maybe LeBron could do, like, yeah, he could go to a James Harden role. I can agree with that. Like, and then, just get and also AD, like, you don't have to be shooting threes all the time. You're probably one of the most athletic power forwards /5s of all time. Maybe, post up, get to the hole and stuff like that. But that's a whole different topic. I just think, like you said, this Nuggets team is just built differently than these other teams. Like Jokic, he's a triple-double every night. I mean, and then Jamal Murray just dropped 37 the other night, and you saw how he did in the bubble playoffs a couple years ago too as well. So I just think, like, what they're running into is, hey, we're now playing, like, not a knock on Memphis, but Memphis isn't Denver. I mean, Memphis was in shambles at the tail end of the year with, the whole jaw off-court incidents and the whole Dylan Brooks thing. And then they play the Warriors, who I just think, quite frankly, like, they didn't have a big that was able to guard AD. And now they're playing a team that, hey, they got that big. They have, good forwards like, an Aaron Gordon. They have a good guard in Jamal Murray. They have Michael Porter Jr. Like, I don't know. That's just my food for thought. I think they're just running into a team, and they're also running into a player in Nikola Jokic, who arguably had probably the best 3-year stretch of all time, other than a handful of players. So that's just my food for thought.
Well, no, yeah, you're running into a number 1 seed. That's like, and I think with the West though, I hate doing this too, but I am going to do this. Like, you think about the 2 seed was Memphis. I mean, you outlined the whole issues with Memphis. Not to mention they were missing guys that could help guard AD, Steven Adams, and I think it was Brendan Clark too. Mm-hmm. And like that's big. I know, and you have that the Warrior. Then you have Sacramento, who had a great year. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Lakers, it's another team they can match up with pretty well. And I think you just look at the rest of the West, they can match up with those teams. But I think Denver's been like great all year long. They've been one of the 5 best teams in the league all year long. And you have an MVP guy, Jamal Murray too. I mean, dude's like finally starting to put it together. He's had a great playoff run.
He had a really bad injury too.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. Mm-hmm. No, especially since the past couple games in the Lakers series, he's been great when they needed him to be great too. So, fourth quarter game too. I mean, my guy was clutch though. But my thing with Denver is if all they need is we all know Jokic is going to get you like a triple-double. That's you can just lock it in. But it's just having that guy. He's had Jamal Murray step up. And if you have guys like KCP and Michael Porter Jr. and, Aaron Gordon step up, get you a solid 20, I like Denver's chances every night. It's just a matter of just Jokic just having a little extra help. And if you can get that, I mean, it's all gravy at that point. So you're seeing it in this conference final so far.
So my question to you is, or to y'all is, like, why is Boston not winning? like how is Boston down 0-2? Because like we were like, okay, yeah, Denver is just better than LA, and they're just playing better. But like Boston, in my opinion, is way better than
on paper
Miami.
Yeah.
Like, I would take both of their dudes over Butler. If you ask me who do I want, Jaylen Brown or Jimmy Butler, I would probably say Jaylen Brown. I probably would. I'm going to keep it real. And then if you, obviously Tatum to me is the best player in the series, right? But it's like, how is Boston? And then they got great depth. You got Brogdon and Derek White, off the bench, which is incredible. How you even get those pieces, right? And it's like, how are they losing 0-2 to Miami, who doesn't have Hero, who's Gabe Vincent's making shots. Like I didn't watch the game yesterday. I'm not watching any of this series.
Yeah.
Forget all this series.
Yeah.
I would say part of it, I think, is coaching. I mean, let's be real about it. You know, Ime Udoka is probably Ime Udoka. Yeah.
Well, they got Joe Mazzulla from West Virginia now.
They did, but I mean, I was just reading Twitter game one. Like, he just didn't make. I guess he wasn't calling timeouts when Miami was going on runs, and that just really killed them. I'm guessing that was the same for game two. I actually didn't get a chance to watch game two, but I'm assuming that's what happened because I think they got outscored multiple times. I think the third and fourth quarter. I don't recall exactly though, but I just think it's weird. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you like why I think Boston's doing X, Y, and Z wrong. I just think it's one of those things. I don't know. Like, I'm like really puzzled. I mean, I figured Miami, you win game one, sure, but like to not win a single home game, like that's. I don't know. Like, obviously, you wanted to say something.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I caught the tail end of the game. Like
Okay.
they had the game. They were up 5 points.
Okay.
With, like not too much time left. So I went to the Pirate game, but I caught like the end of the fourth quarter.
Okay.
They were up 98-93, and like they just didn't close the game out.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. Like Boston, like you
They
said,
just went on a big run.
yeah, that happens. That also happens. But like you said, Boston is deep. I mean, when you mentioned Al Horford, you have Marcus Smart. I mean, like you got guys on that roster. Like you're 1 to 12. You're like really good. I said Boston. I thought they were the best team all year in the NBA, and you know they kind of tailed off towards the end of the regular season though. But they were playing great basketball. And, you know, it just, I don't know, for some reason, they've kind of been like hit or miss the past month or so.
I think you made a great point just then.
Okay.
Like coaching and do you remember those OKC teams? I don't know, that's out there, just crazy to say. Them OKC teams like from like the early 2010s, Russ, KD,
Oh, of course.
Ibaka,
Cephalosha.
Jeff Green,
yeah.
all them dudes. Harden for a
And
second.
they had Kevin Martin. The one.
But like they had all this talent, and but like, to me, Boston is kind of like that. Like they
Okay.
got two guys and they got a good, crazy team, and it's like coaching is so like that was a good point that you made after I said why are they losing, because I feel like their method is okay. We just gonna bring a coach in and we just gonna let everybody just play. Like Tatum, Brown, go ahead. And you see in the Sixers series, their star. What was the difference? Their stars outplayed our stars. Tatum drops 50. Like, what you gonna do about that? Your dude just shows up, he dropped 50. So it's like he won y'all the game, and that's kind of what I feel like Boston's like just going for. They're like, okay, listen, players gotta play. Yesterday, Tatum had 0 in the fourth quarter. They lost the game because you're exactly right. I feel like the coach is not gonna make any adjustments. He's just like, listen, y'all gotta go win us the game for real. Like, we're good. Like, y'all gonna go win us the game. Eric Spoelstra, on the other hand, came out. I did see he came out in the 2-3 yesterday.
Okay.
2-3 zone, something super different. They had no adjustments for that. No adjustments. They doubled selectively, Tatum selectively, and really put different looks at him. Got him, off the ball, weird stuff, and they had no idea how to play off that, because I think they're kind of like that OKC team where OKC back in the day, what were they doing? We'll get a ball to Kevin Durant, we'll give it to Westbrook down the stretch. Y'all guys got to go make a play. And when you're playing Memphis back in the day, or you're playing freaking Clippers or whoever, you're going to beat them teams in the playoffs. But when you're playing San Antonio, you know what I'm saying, and Popovich is coaching that, he's going to shut all that down. So I think that's a good point you made. Like, the coaching is really, I think, what got Miami through. You know what I'm saying? And they have closers.
Yeah, and like to both your guys' point, like just the defensive adjustments, like you said, like a 2-3 zone instead of going man to man. That's huge, especially with like people like Jason Tatum, who not a lot of people can guard him man to man. Or same with Jaylen Brown as well. So like, yeah, and you even saw it last year. Which another thing too is like, I know it's a new coach, but if you look at last year too, like it was similar. Like the Warriors were doing stuff that just made them uncomfortable. Like Jason Tatum did not have a good finals last year. Jaylen Brown did not have a good finals last year, and like it almost something like I think they were running like almost like a box and one on Tatum. He just looked like really, really uncomfortable last year, and like same with Jaylen Brown as well. So I think it's just like you said, like the Heat made adjustments, and especially at the right time too. Especially like when you go on a run at the tail end of the game like that, like that's a clear cut. That's a coaching thing. Mm-hmm. Like when you go into the huddle, then all of a sudden you come back out, and all of a sudden it's a brand new ball game. Like it's just like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. But at the same time too, it's like, I'm not saying it's Tatum and Brown's fault, but you saw it last year. how Embiid and Harden didn't step up this year. I'm not saying they didn't step up, but Tatum did not shoot good at all, especially in the last game of the finals last year. And same with Jaylen Brown. They just weren't like consistent players in the finals. So I think that's another thing too, is like whenever, even though they have all that depth, whenever your top two guys, aren't shooting consistently. I mean, you see what happens when they shoot consistently. Look at Jamal Murray and look at Nikola Jokic. Look at, even they don't have as much depth, but look at Jimmy Butler and look at Bam Adebayo. They've been consistent in all the playoffs. Therefore, their whole team, it's like a ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So, like, basketball is a game of runs. Whenever someone has the hot hand, the whole team usually has the hot hand. So.
Okay, I had a question. I don't know if y'all had a topic, but I had a crazy question that I was talking to my mans with yesterday. And this is, like, just super different. But in the league, right, why in the NBA, right, basketball, why are stars so judged by their winning and playoff success? But then yesterday, I was talking to my guy that I worked with yesterday. He was like the best players in the MLB. Give me three of them.
I'd say, off the top of my head, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and probably
Mookie Betts.
Boom,
Mookie Betts,
right there. And two of those dudes play together.
Yeah.
And I heard Mike Trout, for example, never made the playoffs one time in his whole.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani,
he made it
never
one
made
time.
Yeah, that's
Against the Orioles. Oh, you say he
made it one
time against
right.
the Orioles, yeah.
Wait, who's against the Orioles?
The Angels played the Orioles in the playoffs.
No, I think it was the Royals.
No, I thought they played the Orioles.
No, I think it was the Royals.
In 2013. Yeah, look it up.
No, they didn't make it. It was 2014, I think. I could be wrong.
They made the playoffs against the Orioles.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
They played in the ALDS.
Hold on a second. No, I could have sworn it was the Royals 2014. Hold on, I could be wrong. Let me look it up though. Yeah, they played the Royals. They swept them in the DS.
Oh, who they put? They put the. But
I don't think they
put
made
the
the
Orioles
playoffs.
too.
No, I think you're thinking of someone else. Hold on, Orioles. No, Angels did not make the playoffs in 2013. Hold on.
I thought they.
They had a good record though. They were 84. No, they had a losing record actually.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right about that.
You might
it
have
was the
gotten the
Royals.
teams mixed up though.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
But my point was, why are, like, for example, Bron, for example, is so scrutinized, even at a young age. Even young Bron, that first Cleveland stint, was so like, oh, he ain't win though. Even when he took that team in 2007 to the finals, oh, but he ain't win one yet. But in MLB, you have two. Like, think about LeBron. I'm like, okay, you're telling me LeBron and KD are on the same team and they don't make the finals, but they still the best players in the league. Why is it like? And they're saying, like, the dude yesterday was telling me, oh yeah, Trout's known, like, Trout's gonna go down as like one of them, like, top 10 all time type of players or whoever. And I'm like, why is in baseball winning isn't as valued? I should say. And then, or like Barry Bonds to me is the GOAT, but he ain't win no ring.
Mm-hmm.
But in basketball, you need to have that winning. Why is it like that?
You can go first.
Yeah, I think it's like the main thing is when you look at the NBA, LeBron's playing 40 out of 48 minutes. But when Barry Bonds is up, he's up 1 out of 9 times. So therefore, he's batting 11% of the time. Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, you have LeBron who holds the ball pretty much like the whole game. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the main thing is that it's not as stressed because, like, yeah, Barry Bonds can hit 73 home runs in a year. But, I mean, even in the 2002 MLB World Series when they lost to the Angels, he batted over 400 in that series, and they still lost. So I think it just shows that, like, you can have that one star in the NBA because, like, we've seen it. Jimmy Butler can just take over a game. But if, like, Barry Bonds is just hitting solo shots, where if Mike Trout's batting, 330 with, all these home runs, this and that, they're just one guy. Meanwhile, in the NBA, like, you could see, like, what one player can do. But even look at, like, a team like the Angels. Like, you have Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. You could just pick up Hunter Renfroe, but they're still not first place in their division. And it just goes to show, even the Texas Rangers last year, you pick up Marcus Semien, who had 45 home runs, and Corey Seager, but the team is rebuilding. So therefore, like, 2 players aren't going to make a difference because they're only 2 at-bats out of your 9. Meanwhile, LeBron makes up for how much of your usage rate, or Joel Embiid makes up for how much of your usage rate.
I'll give you a reason that's probably not as impactful, though. But I'm going to say social media and debate shows. I think that's the reason why. So I say that because like baseball, while in some regards, depending on what you look at, baseball is kind of like on par with basketball as far as ratings go. People talk about basketball more than baseball. If you just look at ESPN, look at all the networks, they don't really cover baseball all like that, in my opinion. So I think you have that. When you have a LeBron that comes into the league, he's hyped as the chosen one. People are going to pay attention to that. I think that it's not a coincidence that coincided, around the time that social media began to take off as well. So now you have people, all kinds of different peoples from walks of life. They all have voices now, and you can just say whatever the heck you want to say about a guy, whether he's not clutch. I mean, I'm sure Jordan got criticized. It was just in the newspapers. It wasn't like online. And that's the biggest difference to me, I think. And you have social media. We know the animal that could be, and then you have like these talk shows. Like they don't really. They analyze the game, but they also give like their editorial opinions, and some of it can get kind of personal and stuff. So I think like with that too, I think that also plays a part. I don't know how much of a huge part it plays, but I think just like talk shows, and then you have social media too. People like like on Reddit post, discussion forums, spouting their nonsense out. I think that's part of it has something to do with that too, in my opinion. But baseball, I've just like I'm on Twitter a lot. Baseball just doesn't have the same juice as far as conversation goes than basketball. I don't know why. I can't really give you like a concrete explanation, but I just think basketball is a little bit more mainstream and a little bit more popular with like social media than baseball is.
Those were two like great answers for it. Like that's exactly like, especially like this thing right with the usage. I definitely understand because LeBron could definitely dribble that ball.
He could have the ball the whole game, but Barry Bonds is going to have the bat in his hand,
That's a good point. Barry Bonds could go 5 for 5, 5 home runs, and they could lose, whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, that's a good point too, though, with the social media stuff, because me and my man was talking yesterday, and he was like, allegedly, he told me there's this kid in hockey who's like, as a prospect, and they just had their lottery.
Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
And apparently he's like as impactful as Wembanyama's going to be. That's what he told me. He's like, this dude is like generational. He's like, he's gonna move. He's gonna have that same impact as Wembanyama going to the Spurs. It's the same thing. And I'm like, I haven't even heard of this kid. Like, why haven't I heard of this kid? Is my point. Like, why isn't hockey? Or they tell him. Like, I saw a Bleacher Report post, and it was like best athletes right now, and it was a hockey dude number one. His name was like McDavid.
Yeah, Connor McDavid.
Right.
Oh,
and I'm
far.
like, I couldn't. I haven't seen him I haven't seen him. I haven't none of that. Right. So I'm like, how have I not heard of none of these dudes? Why are they not getting promoted? Why are they not getting pushed?
Well, I said
exactly.
Social media,
but
NFL, and so really NBA still covers a lot. But let's be real, the NFL and college football, that's like the premier sports. Like you're gonna get the most coverage. Hell, even like the worst team in the NFL will get more press than like an NHL team. As screwed up as that is, that's just how it is, and we're seeing it too. ESPN. They just acquired the rights to broadcast NHL games. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think they've done a terrible job with coverage. And I'm not even a hockey guy, but I've just watched some of the games and some of their studio shows. I think TNT does a way better job than ESPN does at hockey right now. And I just think that's a problem too. And then when you don't have other shows promoting hockey and baseball on a consistent basis, and you're bringing in one analyst, I'm sure you know Barry Melrose. You bring it. You don't have him. You don't even have him on during the entire regular season. And then it's Stanley Cup Finals. Let's bring him on for a 2-minute segment. Like it's just like that's why like guys, especially like people that don't watch hockey a lot, like and people like me and like him that don't watch hockey. It's just like, well, if you promote the sport better, like the only reason I even know about him is too because you guys watch hockey, so that's how I know about Connor Bedard. But like if you're like a guy like what you see with like Victor Wembanyama. Everyone knows who he is, though, but that's just part of the issue.
He was 16. He knew who he was.
Oh yeah, so I said, shit. LeBron, we knew who LeBron was since he was like in freaking 9th grade. Like it's just part of it's picking and choosing who's going to be that next guy. And I think, hopefully Bedard gets more spotlight as the time goes on, though, but we'll see.
Well, another thing too is like this is not a knock on McDavid or Bedard, but you could already tell Bedard is a pretty shy guy, and McDavid too. I mean, his personality is like this table right here. But like, I think that's another thing too. Is like a lot of these like someone like McDavid. Like, I love him as a player, but like if you watch his post game interviews, he's like he's like Greg Popovich, but like with even more monotone voice. But I will say, like, since you haven't heard of like really a lot about McDavid, so think about this. He had 153 points and he led in goals and assists this year. So like that would be like the triple crown for baseball. Yeah. But he had 153 points. Second place was his teammate with 128.
Yeah, I heard like 100 and however many points he had is like the equivalent of like 60 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, it's not. Well, here's another thing too. This is the first time it's happened since 1995-96 with Mario Lemieux, the first player to score over 150 points in the season. And on top of that too, if you look at the gap between him and so you got a gap between him and Draisaitl. But then you got him and then Pasternak and Kucherov. They're barely at 120, which is still a ton of points. But you have someone who is scoring 30 more points than he's lapping the field with these guys. And like you don't even see like in the NBA, it's a tight MVP race every single year. This year it's going to be an absolute blowout. I mean, like 150. Like he should be unanimous, but I'm sure someone in Toronto who's jealous of Edmonton's talent is going to vote against, maybe for like Linus Ullmark for a pick, and I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, 153 points is unheard of.
So do you think it's a pick and choose thing? Like ESPN is selectively saying like we're going to push basketball, or is it a popularity thing? Like America, for example, like listen, we like football. We like basketball, so we're gonna push football. We're gonna push basketball. Is it more that, or is it more we're gonna push these sports selectively? We're gonna push these athletes selectively.
I would say a lot of it's money. So
money,
the NBA generates a ton of money too, but the NFL is like they're like on a whole nother level. It's like it's them and everyone else really, and even college football too to an extent. But like, yeah, I think too if someone generates a lot of money, you're gonna cover that sport, so you generate money as well. And I just think NFL. Shoot, we're not even like 4 months. We still have 3 months till preseason, 4 months till the season like really starts. Like, and they're still talking about the NFL like on a regular basis, and there's like nothing going on. Like, I know the draft just finished, but like that's been like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like we're kind of like in OTAs and like kind of getting close to training camp. Like that's really the next big thing though. But like NFL, it's like a year-round spectacle. Even though they play like 20 weeks out of like 52 weeks in the year, like it's covered like nonstop. And I think basketball too. There's kind of a lull there during the summer, with the exception of free agency and the draft, of course. But you have that's that gray area of opportunity, and even then, they still don't talk about baseball, even though it's the only mainstream sport really going on in the summertime. Like it's just one of those things. It just doesn't. It generates a lot of money in its own right, and so does hockey. Don't get me wrong, but like the big bucks are the NFL, and to a certain extent the NBA. I mean,
do you think it's a personality thing? Like, because I know one thing I do know about the NBA, because in NFL, like they personalities, they sell those. Like John Morant, like his personality, like they're gonna show that, right? Yeah. OBJ, right? Somebody like that, right? Or like it's kind of a new wave to me, in my opinion, with the NFL, kind of ever since like OBJ stepped in and started. You know what I mean? But so do you think it's like we're just gonna sell personality, and then MLB, there's not like it's more of a team type of like, like. You're not going to hit a home run and then start, dancing around the bases, whatever.
Well, actually, yeah. So, like, you actually made a good point there. So, a lot of guys in football and basketball, they do have personality. And I think baseball is kind of struggling with that right now. There are some guys that actually do have personality. Like, you will see, like, some celebrations, but a lot of it's, like, really, like, stricted and grounded, because there's a lot of people that are older that like baseball too. They have like this mindset. It's like, oh well, you're supposed to respect the game a certain way.
The unwritten rules. And
stuff. And while I do understand that, I think baseball, in order for it to grow and maybe compete with the NBA, they're never going to compete with the NFL. Forget that. But maybe the NBA on a consistent basis, you need more of the entertainment factor, and because baseball. I don't know if you know, but they introduced like more rules to speed up the game this year.
So pitch clock, all that. Yeah.
Like less like standing around the bases and like on the pitching mound like for 2 hours. Like it's more. There's more stuff going on. I think it's shown games go a lot faster. I'm sure you've experienced that being at PNC Park. But like, yeah, I think part of that baseball they do have some guys that have some great personalities. But I think they're kind of still, it's a work in progress. But hockey, like Tony said, guys are robots. It's like they're all the same player, and I think that's part of the issue too. But I still think that there still needs to be a due diligence to cover those players because, like you said,
they're that good.
If a guy has 60 goals and 150 something points, like that's worthy of coverage. Like, I mean, we saw it last year. Even Aaron Judge had 62 home runs or 60, whatever you had, and like he was getting coverage too. Like people, ESPN was literally going out of college football games to see if Judge would break Maris's record. Like, there's still some value in baseball. I feel like hockey, if they can embrace that, you know, it's a two-way street. Hockey has to do a better job of getting these guys to be more open and express some of their personality, and the networks have to do a better job of covering too. And I think if you can do that, I think people like me, like you, will maybe become more familiar with the game itself, and maybe I'll tune in and watch because, like, I'll tell you, bro, like, I watched the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. They've been, like, really good. Yeah. And I think, honestly, I can make the argument, I'm not going to do it here, but I can make the argument they're more entertaining than the NBA playoffs. And that's saying something because I like the NBA too. So
I will add, too, like, I forgot, so with hockey, too, there's just not as much coverage. And if you think about the contracts, too, like, you could tell what the moneymakers are. And hockey's just not as big of a moneymaker. And another thing, too, is not as many people play hockey too, so that's another.
Well, that's a whole other issue.
And like, I mean, you literally have to buy skates, get on ice. Like, I was lucky enough to have parents that put me on the ice and play hockey, but it's a very expensive sport to play. And like that was part of the reason why I stopped playing hockey in high school because it was just so expensive. I'm playing again now, which is nice in an adult league, but it's a whole other story. But it's tough for people to get into it because, I mean, you could play deck, you could play inline, but like ice hockey is the real thing, and that's the thing. Like, not a lot of people grow up playing ice hockey, so therefore, not a lot of people follow it as well. And like we said, there's not as many personalities as there is, as even in the MLB, there's more personalities. Like, you don't see anyone like a Jazz Chisholm in the NHL. So it's like, but yeah, like if you look at the salaries, Sidney Crosby is making $8.5 million a year. McDavid's making $12 million a year. Timofey Mozgov made almost $16 million a year one year.
I didn't know the contracts. I knew the contracts had to do with like TV deals, but I didn't know they were that like $12 million for the best player. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. And
the thing is too, like you're getting $12 million for someone who led in all three statistical categories. Last time someone led in the three major statistical categories in the MLB was Miguel Cabrera. And when was the last time someone did that in the NBA? I understand like it's tough to get assists, rebounds, or but any categories, like blocks, steals, like you don't see it anymore. No. You don't see it at all. And meanwhile, there's a player that has done it in the NHL, and he's not really talked about a lot when it comes to ESPN. But like you said, TNT does great coverage with it. I think part of the main reason is you're able to get Wayne Gretzky on. Paul Bissonnette, he's a personality. You also have. And he was a good hockey player too, especially in the AHL. Not so much like he didn't really pan on the NHL, but you also have like Henrik Lundqvist, Anson Carter, Kevin Weeks, PK Subban. Like you're getting good guys on TNT. I think if they modeled it like how they do TNT, ESPN, and really broadcast that, I think you'd be able to see growth in NHL. So.
I'd even argue NBA too. So I don't know if you watch Inside the NBA. Of course. Well, okay, so that's the premier like NBA sports show, and I think ESPN, I know they have their own show too, but like the NBA, Inside the NBA does laps around ESPN studio shows when it comes to basketball. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And I feel like the part of that too, why TNT does like good hockey and basketball is because they're not under like a certain set of rules. ESPN, they're real buttoned down, and like I understand like they're the worldwide leader in sports, and like I'm sure it's a great company to work for, but they're more structured and they have like certain things they want to do. And TNT is just more so, hey, let's just you guys talk for an extended period of time. Showcase your personalities. Yeah. Like be unfiltered. Like I mean, Charles Barkley, I'm sure like dude says whatever is on the top of his mind. And I think shows like that, I think would help. But I don't know. What was the point I was trying to make?
Before I was just gonna say, but you say Wayne Gretzky. I do know who that is.
Yeah.
You put on these. Like these are all former players. Yeah. Former players who have like done great stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Gretzky's the go, and then you got Shaq, who's Shaq, Barkley, who's Barkley, right? Yeah. But you got dudes who've been there, so who's gonna tell them that they wrong?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Stephen A. Smith, for example, though, is like you ain't play, so it's like we can kind of say you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you can look at Stephen A. like, you don't know what you're talking about because you ain't never been there. But Shaq, like, who's going to tell? If Shaq says something crazy, that's Shaq though. Like, he is Shaq. You know.
No, that's true. No, what I was gonna say though with hockey though, I was gonna say like part of the problem too is like he said, you know, money and expenses too. I would say part of it too. A lot of the guys are Canadian players, Russian players. They're overseas too, and I think there's still some American players in there. But
there's been a growth in American players.
But I think
it's went from like I think 8% to like almost 20%.
Okay, well, okay, that's a jump.
Yeah.
But like I'm gonna go here, but I'm gonna play the race card here. If there was a black player, I guarantee you, who was hyped up, who had the proper training, could afford all the gear, and he was not Canadian or from any other country, he was like African American, born in the United States. I guarantee you, if he was a highly touted prospect in hockey, there would be more eyeballs on the sport. I think if you can get more of those guys, I know it's going to be a tall task for obvious reasons, just economic and social, just like reasons. But I think if at some point in time you can have a guy, highly touted prospect, on the same tiers of McDavid or Bedard, who's an American and is also black, I think I would certainly watch. I think more people would watch too. I think part of that too is just growing the game in the inner cities as well. People aren't as privileged to have, you know, gear and equipment and can afford it too. That's also part of why hockey isn't like growing at the rate that maybe football, basketball, hell, even soccer is growing at a faster rate. So I think, that's just it's gonna be a long process. That's something that doesn't happen overnight, obviously. But I think there needs to be a serious effort made, and until like there's serious progress, like it's just something that's gonna have to be worked on for a very long time.
But if you think about the players, like your best players of all time, it's Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux. You know, you got Connor McDavid's coming up there. Got Sidney Crosby. Got Gordie Howe. All those players are all from Canada. So like that's like part of the thing is like, I'm not saying like all white people are from Canada practically, but like you like what I'm saying is like these people, they're not American born too, you know. So like it's you can't even get an American player to be at the top of the NHL chain yet, and I still don't think it's going to be for years to come still, because like hockey is just that big in Canada. It's practically hockey is practically our baseball. Like everyone played t-ball. Well, everyone in Canada plays hockey, so it's like it's almost like they have a head start against anyone from America, because that's just how, you know, people are raised in Canada.
I would say the same thing with soccer too. You see it with soccer. The USA is so behind, with at least men's, as far as soccer goes, because you see, who's the best men's soccer player? Like they're all from Argentina, Brazil. They're all like international. And I think USA, they've had some good soccer players. Don't get me wrong, but they're just not on the same tier as a Messi, or Ronaldo, or Mbappe from France. Like those guys are like one of the most famous athletes in the entire world. Forget USA. Like world, and they make a crap ton of money, dude. It's ridiculous. So I think, soccer too is another sport that kind of is like lagging behind in the USA. It's not even just a black thing, it's just an American thing. And I think hockey too, I think, getting more black people involved certainly should be a priority, but it's an American thing too with hockey. Like overall, I think it's one of those things. It's gonna be a long time, dude, because you got NFL, it's king. It's king in the United States though, but it's not king globally. Soccer is the best sport, most popular sport in the whole world though. But as far as the USA goes, though, football is like king though. But it's one of those things. Football, I don't know, like soccer and hockey. It's just one of those things. It's going to take a very long time to like get integrated and have guys more representation across the board. So.
Well, I gotta go to work soon, but I wanted to hear y'all finals picks though.
Okay. You can go first.
Give me the Nuggets.
Who they
beating?
Oh, okay. Nuggets over the Heat. Nuggets over the Heat in 6.
I'm gonna go Nuggets over the Heat in 7. I think Miami's gonna put up a fight.
I'm taking Boston over Denver in 6.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about NFL?
NFL, Super Bowl picks already.
Super Bowl pick.
Oh wow, put me on the spot.
Draft. We did the draft.
Give me Philly. Give me Philly.
Right.
I honestly like Philadelphia to go back, and I think
if you say it, you're gonna jinx them.
Well. Knock on wood. I like Philadelphia, and I like the Bengals in the AFC. Bengals or Chiefs.
I like Philly over Baltimore in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with.
I guess I want to see
I think
He's not really-
I think D-Hop gets to Baltimore somehow.
If him and Beckham and Zay Flowers.
I like Zay Flowers,
Oh.
and you know the run game's gonna always be there.
Oh, it's always
and you know the
gonna be there.
defense is always gonna be there.
Yeah,
Dave
defense.
Flowers is a stepper. He was a beast at Boston College. Just
yeah.
didn't get a lot of hype because he played for Boston College. I think he and Lamar Jackson are going to be a good duo, and they missed Lamar Jackson last year too. So I'm excited to see him get back.
Oh no, they had a Pro Bowl though. They
And
had a
then
Pro Bowl quarterback
you know
back.
my Eagles is going. with
Come
their-
on, we
it's
already
a-
talked
it's a
about
joke.
that.
You know what my Eagles is doing too. We
Well-
got Jalen Carter and all them boys.
Oh, their defense. They're gonna have the best defense in NFL.
How about a hockey prediction, guys? Who you guys got?
I don't watch hockey. I don't like you though, but I'll say, give me the Hurricane. No, I'm gonna go Panthers. Give me the no. Give me the Stars over the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm gonna go 6 games. I'm just a shot in the dark.
I don't know, honestly. Like, as much as I know hockey, I honestly, it's like, because the Panthers have Sergei Bobrovsky, who made 63 saves out of 65 shots the other day, and like, he's made it clear that he doesn't really want to lose at all. I know that's like pretty cliche, but like, he's like diving for pucks. I mean, I don't know. I'll go with the Canes, I guess, over Vegas in 6.
Okay.
I have no, honestly, like, it's the first time in a while it's like I have no idea, because every game's going to, like, the first 2 conference final games have already went into both overtime. So
I'm gonna take Florida Panthers over Vegas in 7. I feel like all these series, what I have seen, a lot of the series have been going 7. It's been really entertaining.
Sure.
And then in the MLB, I'm gonna take my New York Mets over the Yankees. I think it goes. I think it
Subway
stays.
Series in the
I
World
think it
Series.
stays in New York this year. I think my boy Pete Alonso's turning it around right now. We just beat the Rays
It's a good
in the
team.
series, so I think we got it. I mean,
If you put me on the spot right now, I'd probably say I'm gonna go Tampa right now, and I'd probably say the Braves. Those are the 2 best teams right now in baseball. So it's certainly subject to change though. But right now, if I had to pick 2 teams, I'd pick the Rays and Braves in the World Series.
after getting like no hype because San Diego signed everyone, and since they're playing red hot right now, for now it's going to change throughout the year. I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I just think that, Max Muncy's starting to come into his own again, and you're seeing players like Miguel Vargas step up, and I don't know, Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. I mean, we're talking about how good of a player he was the other day, winning 2 championships on 2 different teams, which is tough to do in baseball. So I'm gonna go with the Dodgers out of there, and then I'll go Dodgers and Astros, another championship round. I know the Astros aren't playing good now. Their division's been absolutely loaded right now with Texas coming up, and with the Angels playing good baseball, and so with the Mariners. But yeah, we're gonna go with those 2 teams for now. But like I said, in maybe 1 or 2 weeks, just because how many games are played in the MLB with 162, it'll probably change next week. So I'll let you guys know though.
Okay.
appreciate y'all.
But yeah, we probably
Hey, you too.
So we can probably end it there.
Yeah. But yeah. Thank you for coming on our podcast, Nick. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I appreciate y'all. This was cool. Yeah, I mean, this was cool chopping it up with y'all. So yeah, I appreciate.
Yeah, if ever want to come back on future episodes, you're more than welcome to.
I definitely got to come back.
Okay.
Especially see how the finals plays out too.
Yes, sir.
We got to do that.
We'll have you on again. Yeah.
Sure, we got
we'll
to
have
chop
you
it
on
up.
again.
We got to chop it up.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks again for coming on, and have a good time at work tonight, and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. You can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, wherever you search podcasts, search for Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. He's Antonio Rossetti. I'm Justin Stewart. We'll do it again in the near future, folks. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Connor McDavid's better than LeBron James.
LeBron James.